2026 Glow Up Protocol. A 30-day total transformation. Listen carefully. 2026 is not just another year on the calendar. It's a war zone, and while most people walk into it defenseless, hiding behind soft promises, be nicer, slow down, find balance, you're choosing a different path. You won't drift with the crowd. You'll step where others hesitate to even look. A dangerous choice. One that cuts you off from the masses and permanently separates you from the herd. This isn't motivation. It's selection. 30 days that either you remain who you've always been, or you become someone the world can't ignore. This isn't a self-improvement guide. This is a psychological weapon, a 30-day transformation that will turn you into someone untouchable, someone feared, someone respected. Machiavelli understood something most men never will. Power isn't given, it's taken. And the only person standing between you and absolute dominance is the weak version of yourself you've been protecting. The next 30 days will destroy that version completely. You'll rebuild yourself as something colder, sharper, unbreakable. But here's the truth they won't tell you. Transformation isn't comfortable. It's violent. It requires you to kill parts of yourself that have been holding you back for years. Your emotions, tools, not masters. Your relationships, strategic alliances, not dependencies. Your goals, calculated conquests, not hopeful dreams. This is mental thought. And if you're still here, you're ready. Comment below. I choose power if you're committing to the next 30 days. Now, let me show you exactly how this works. Part 1. The Machiavellian Blueprint. Here's what they don't teach you in school, in therapy, or in those pathetic motivation seminars. Machiavelli wrote The Prince not as philosophy, but as an instruction manual, a cold, calculated guide to power that has survived 500 years because it works. And in 2026, while everyone is chasing happiness like children chasing butterflies, you're going to chase dominance. The 30-day transformation isn't about becoming a better person. It's about becoming a more dangerous one, more calculated, more precise, more willing to do what others won't. Day 1 through 10, you kill your illusions, the lies you tell yourself about who you are, what you deserve, what you're capable of. You stop being the hero of your own story and become the strategist instead. Day 11 through 20, you weaponize your discipline. Cold showers, brutal workouts, information consumption, skill acquisition. Not because it feels good, but because weakness is unacceptable. Day 21 through 30, you implement dark psychology. You learn to read people like books, manipulate social dynamics, control narratives, build alliances that serve your ascent. This isn't motivational content. This is war preparation. Every successful man you admire used these principles whether they admit it or not. Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Kobe Bryant. They understood something fundamental. Niceness is a liability. Competence is currency. Ruthlessness is required. Comment. No mercy if you understand what's coming. Part 2. The Illusion of Morality. Let me destroy your first illusion right now. You've been taught that being good will get you ahead. That playing fair means you'll eventually win. That honesty and integrity are the keys to success. This is the biggest lie ever sold to you. Look around. Who has the power? Who controls the wealth? Who makes the decisions that shape your reality? It's not the most moral people. It's the most strategic ones. The ones willing to smile while they scheme. The ones who understand that morality is a luxury of the powerful, not a path to power. Machiavelli said it plainly. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Why? Because fear is reliable. Love is conditional. Respect built on fear lasts. Respect built on niceness evaporates the moment you show weakness. This doesn't mean become a villain. It means stop being a victim of your own conscience. Your conscience was programmed by people who wanted you controllable, obedient, predictable. They taught you to feel guilty for ambition, ashamed of wanting more, afraid of taking what's yours. The next 30 days will reprogram that. You'll learn to separate emotion from action. To make decisions based on outcomes, not feelings. To understand that sometimes the most moral thing you can do is be mercilessly effective. You want to help people. Get power first. You want to change the world. Dominate your corner of it first. You want respect. Stop asking for it and start commanding it. Your enemies aren't sleeping. Your competition isn't waiting. The world isn't going to pause while you figure out who you want to be. So you need to become dangerous fast. This transformation requires one thing above all, the willingness to abandon who you were. Comment. I am becoming. If you're ready to kill your old self, Part 5, The Dark Psychology Advantage. Now we enter territory most self-improvement content will never touch because it's too honest, too uncomfortable, too real. Week 2 is when you learn to read people like source code. When you understand the hidden patterns that govern human behavior. When you realize that most people are not thinking. They're running programs. Predictable algorithms of insecurity, ego, desire, and fear. And once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. You become the programmer instead of the program. Let's start with the fundamental truth. People don't want what's good for them. They want what makes them feel good about themselves. This distinction is everything. The person who offers harsh truth gets rejected. The person who offers comfortable lies gets trusted. Why? Because truth requires change. Lies permit stagnation. And stagnation feels safe even when it's destroying them. So you learn to speak in ways that bypass resistance. You don't tell someone what to do. You make them think it was their idea. You don't argue with their worldview. You ask questions that expose the contradictions until they convince themselves. This is dark psychology. This is persuasion at the highest level. This is how you move people without them realizing they've been moved. You study body language obsessively. Crossed arms mean defensiveness. Leaning back means skepticism. Rapid blinking means stress. Touching the face means uncertainty. Mirroring means rapport. These aren't theories. These are data points. You collect them. You test them. You verify them. Soon you can read a room in 30 seconds. You know who has power, who wants power, who's pretending to have power, and you position yourself accordingly. You learn the 6 principles of influence from Pliny. Reciprocity. Give first, take later. Commitment. Get small yes before big asks. Social proof. Show them others are doing it. Authority. Establish credibility before persuading. Liking. Find commonality before requesting. Scarcity. Create urgency through limitation. These aren't manipulation tactics. They're the operating system of human psychology. Either you use them consciously or others use them on you unconsciously. You develop strategic silence. Most men talk too much. They reveal too much. They explain too much. They defend too much. This gives away leverage. The Machiavellian speaks in measured doses. He lets others fill silence with their insecurities. He asks questions instead of making statements. He observes more than he participates. And in that observation, he gathers intelligence that others foolishly hand him for free. You practice emotional control in every interaction. Someone insults you. You smile. Someone challenges you. You stay calm. Someone tries to provoke you. You remain unmoved. Why? Because the person who loses emotional control loses the interaction. Period. Anger is a tool you deploy strategically, not a reaction someone else triggers. Your emotions are weapons you choose when to use, not reflexes that fire automatically. By week 2, you'll notice something disturbing and empowering simultaneously. You'll see how easy people are to influence, how predictable they are, how their buttons are clearly labeled if you just pay attention. This knowledge is dangerous. Use it wisely. Use it to build, not just to manipulate. Use it to lead, not just to exploit. Because power without purpose is just chaos. And chaos eventually consumes itself. The goal isn't to become a sociopath. The goal is to become someone who can't be manipulated by sociopaths. Someone who sees the game clearly enough to play it better than everyone else. Comment. I see the game. If you're understanding the invisible rules. Now, Part 7, the power moves. Week 4 is execution week. And this is where theory becomes reality, where knowledge becomes power, where the transformed version of you steps into the world and starts taking what's yours. Because understanding strategy means nothing if you never deploy it. Let me give you the specific power moves that separate men who talk about transformation from men who embody it. These aren't suggestions. These are commands. Execute them without hesitation or stay mediocre forever. Your choice. Power. Move. 1. Renegotiate every major relationship in your life. Your job, your romantic relationship, your friendships, your family dynamics. Everything gets reassessed through the lens of your new standards. You sit down with your boss and either negotiate better terms or you start planning your exit. You don't complain, You don't threaten. You present your value clearly and state your requirements professionally. If they can't meet them, you move on without emotion. In your romantic relationship, you establish boundaries that were previously non-existent. You stop tolerating disrespect disguised as jokes. You stop accepting manipulation disguised as emotions. You communicate your standards once and enforce them always. With friends, you cut off everyone who drains more than they contribute. No explanations, no drama, just distance. With family, you love them, but you stop letting guilt control your decisions. You help when it's strategic. You refuse when it's not. This sounds cold because it is cold. But warmth without boundaries is just weakness wearing a smile. Power move 2. You create asymmetric opportunities for yourself. This means you position yourself where the upside is massive and the downside is minimal. You start the side business that costs almost nothing but could generate everything. You make the introduction that requires 1 email but could open 10 doors. You learn the skill that takes 3 months but pays for 30 years. Most men seek symmetry. Equal risk, equal reward. That's peasant thinking. The Machiavellian thinks exponentially. Small inputs, massive outputs. You're hunting for leverage constantly. Where can you get disproportionate returns on minimal investment? That's where you focus your energy exclusively. Power move 3. You weaponize your time like never before. Every person who wants access to you must earn it. Every meeting must have clear purpose. Every conversation must drive toward outcomes. You stop being available for people who treat your time casually. You stop attending events that don't serve your objectives. You stop consuming content that doesn't make you sharper. Your calendar becomes a strategic weapon. Blocks of deep work. Blocks of strategic networking. Blocks of skill acquisition. Blocks of rest. That's actually restorative, not just distraction. Nothing random. Nothing reactive. Everything deliberate. People will call you difficult. Let them. Difficult men accomplish difficult things. Easy men accomplish nothing. Power move 4. You start documenting your ascent publicly, not for validation, for accountability and attraction. You share your process, your progress, your philosophy. You build in public even if nobody's watching initially, because the man who can articulate his journey clearly is the man who understands it deeply. You use whatever platform makes sense. YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, doesn't matter. What matters is consistency and quality. You're creating a body of work that demonstrates your transformation. This does 3 things simultaneously. It keeps you accountable because public commitment is powerful. It attracts opportunities because people can see your thinking. It builds your brand because documented competence beats empty claims every time. Power move 5. You make 1 bold ask per week. Something that scares you. Something that feels too big. You ask for the promotion you think you're not ready for. You pitch the client you think is out of your league. You request the introduction you think you don't deserve. Most of these asks will be rejected. Some will succeed spectacularly. But more importantly, you're training yourself that bold action has no real downside. The worst someone can say is no. And no changes nothing. But yes, changes everything. So you swing big constantly. You ask for what you want directly. You stop hinting. Stop hoping. Stop waiting for permission. You take shots knowing most will miss. But the ones that hit will transform your entire trajectory. These 5 power moves executed consistently for 30 days will put you in a completely different reality than where you started. Comment taking power if you're ready to execute these moves immediately. Part 8. The isolation period. Here's what nobody tells you about real transformation. And this might be the most important section of this entire monologue because it addresses the cost that most people aren't willing to pay. Even though it's non-negotiable if you want actual power. Real transformation requires isolation. Complete isolation. Not the kind where you just spend less time with people. The kind where you disappear entirely. Where you go dark on social media. Where you stop attending gatherings. Where you decline invitations without explanation. Where people start wondering if you're okay. Where your phone goes silent because you've stopped initiating contact and most people never cared enough to reach out first. This isolation isn't depression. This is an antisocial behavior. This is strategic withdrawal from a world that will actively resist your transformation. Why is isolation necessary? Because every person in your current life has an investment in you staying exactly who you are. Your family wants the predictable version. Your friends want the available version. Your partner wants the comfortable version. Your coworkers want the manageable version. Nobody actually wants you to change because your change disrupts their equilibrium. Your transformation forces them to confront their own stagnation. So unconsciously or consciously, they will sabotage you. They'll mock your new habits. They'll question your new standards. They'll tempt you with old patterns. They'll guilt you for your unavailability. They'll call your discipline obsession. They'll call your ambition greed. They'll call your boundaries coldness. This is why you must remove yourself completely. You need space where their voices can't reach you, where their doubts can't infect you, where their limitations can't constrain you. You're building a new identity, and identities can't form under constant external pressure. Think of it like this. A sword must be heated in isolation before it's folded and hammered into shape. If you keep removing it from the fire to show people your progress, you'll never reach the temperature required for transformation. The fire is your isolation. The temperature is your focus. The blade is who you're becoming. During this isolation period, you'll experience something profound and terrifying. You'll discover that most of your relationships were transactional, not meaningful. Most of your friendships were convenient, not deep. Most of your connections were about what you provided, not who you were. When you stop being available, stop being useful, stop being the person who always shows up, most people will simply disappear. They won't call to check on you. They won't ask what's wrong. They'll just move on to whoever fills the role you vacated. This will hurt. Let it hurt. That pain is information. It's showing you the truth about who actually values you versus who is just using you. But here's the gift hidden in this isolation. The people who do reach out, who do persist, who do genuinely care about your well-being, not just your utility. Those people are rare and worth keeping. Your real circle will reveal itself through your absence, not your presence. The ones who respect your boundaries instead of challenging them. The ones who support your transformation instead of questioning it. The ones who give you space instead of demanding explanations. Those are your people. Everyone else was scenery. You'll also discover something else during this isolation. You'll find out who you actually are when nobody's watching. Most people never know themselves because they're constantly performing for others. They're always adjusting their personality based on who's in the room. Always moderating their opinions based on who's listening. Always shaping their behavior based on who's judging. But alone, completely alone, you can't hide from yourself. Your true desires surface. Your real values emerge. Your authentic personality appears. And sometimes you won't like what you find. That's okay. At least it's real. At least it's yours. At least you can work with truth instead of illusion. The isolation period lasts as long as it needs to. For some men, it's 30 days. For others, it's 90. For some, it becomes a permanent lifestyle shift. You'll know when it's complete because you'll feel different internally. Solid, certain, unshakable, like you found bedrock after years of standing on sand. That's when you can re-engage with the world. But you'll re-engage as someone new, someone they don't recognize, someone they can't control anymore. Comment. I embrace solitude if you understand why isolation is required for transformation. Part 9, The Emergence. Day 30 arrives, and you are no longer the person who started this journey. And everyone around you will feel it immediately, even if they can't articulate what's changed. Because transformation isn't about looking different. It's about carrying yourself differently. And that shift in presence is undeniable. You walk into rooms differently now, slower, more deliberate. Your footsteps have weight. Your movements have purpose. There's no nervous energy, no fidgeting, no unnecessary motion. You've learned that stillness is power. That the man who moves least commands the most attention. People sense predators instinctively. And you've become something predatory, not in violence, but in focus, in capability, in the quiet certainty that you could handle whatever situation presents itself. Your eye contact has changed. You don't look away first anymore. You don't scan the room seeking approval. You don't avoid confrontation through averted gaze. You look directly at people and hold it until they break. Not aggressively, just steadily. The kind of eye contact that communicates you're evaluating them, not hoping they'll evaluate you favorably. This alone shifts every dynamic. People unconsciously defer to whoever holds the gaze longer. You've become that person. Your voice has dropped literally. You speak from your chest now, not your throat. Your words come out slower, quieter, but they carry more weight. You've stopped using filler words, stopped over-explaining, stopped seeking validation through excessive talking. You make statements, you ask questions, you stay silent. These 3 modes, nothing else. The nervous chatter is gone. The need to fill silence is dead. You've learned that silence makes others uncomfortable, and their discomfort gives you control of the conversation without saying a word. Your body has transformed. Obviously, 30 days of brutal training shows you're leaner, harder, more defined. But beyond aesthetics, there's functionality. You move better, react faster, tire slower. Your body has become a tool you trust completely. When you need it to perform, it performs. No negotiations, no excuses. This physical reliability creates mental confidence that radiates from you unconsciously. People feel it. The sense that you're capable, dangerous, if necessary, controlled, but not to be tested. Your style has upgraded. You've eliminated everything casual from your wardrobe. Everything fits perfectly. Everything is intentional. Colors that work for your complexion. Cuts that enhance your physique. Quality over quantity. You wear less, but everything you wear communicates competence. Watches, shoes, grooming, every detail handled. Not because you're vain, but because you understand that visual communication happens before verbal communication. People judge you in 3 seconds. You've optimized those 3 seconds. But the deepest change is internal, and this is what makes the transformation permanent. You've developed unshakable self-trust. You said you'd do something, and you did it for 30 consecutive days. You kept every promise you made to yourself. You woke up when you said you would. You trained when you didn't feel like it. You ate what served your goals, not your cravings. You read when you wanted to scroll. You stayed isolated when you wanted connection. You built the discipline muscle until it became automatic. Now you know with absolute certainty that if you decide something will happen, it will happen. Period. No doubts, no second guessing, no backup plans, just execution. This self-trust changes everything because self-doubt was the root of every problem you had. You doubted you could start the business, so you never did. You doubted you could approach that person, so you stayed alone. You doubted you could negotiate better terms, so you accepted less. You doubted you could handle conflict, so you avoided it. Every limitation was just doubt wearing different masks. Now doubt is dead, killed by 30 days of evidence that you're capable of whatever you commit to. People will ask what happened to you. They'll want to know your secret, your routine, your supplements, your program. Don't tell them. Let them wonder. Mystery is more powerful than explanation. The man who explains himself seeks approval. The man who simply is commands respect. You're done explaining, done justifying, done seeking permission. You've emerged from the fire as something new, something forged, something that cannot be broken because you've already broken yourself and rebuilt deliberately. This is who you are now. Permanent, irreversible, untouchable. Comment: I have emerged. If you've completed the transformation or you're committing to start it today, Part 10. The Eternal Warrior. Now, we arrive at the final truth, and this is where most transformation content ends, but where real transformation actually begins. Because day 30 isn't the finish line, it's the starting gate. And if you think you're done after 1 month, you've completely misunderstood what we're building here. The 30-day challenge was never about 30 days. It was about proving to yourself that you're capable of sustained discipline under pressure. It was about breaking the old pattern, killing the old identity, creating evidence that change is possible. But now comes the real test. The test that 95% of men fail. The test of consistency over years, not weeks. The test of maintaining excellence when the initial motivation fades. The test of staying sharp when there's no challenge forcing you to be sharp. Here's what separates the warriors from the pretenders. Warriors understand that transformation isn't an event. It's a lifestyle. It's not something you do for 30 days, then return to normal. There is no normal anymore. There's only forward or backward progress or regression, evolution or decay. The moment you stop actively improving, you start passively deteriorating. There's no plateau. There's no maintenance mode. You're either getting better or getting worse every single day. Choose consciously. So day 31 looks exactly like day 30, and day 60 looks like day 30, and day 365 looks like day 30. The routine doesn't change because it's not a routine anymore. It's your identity. You don't wake up at 5 a.m. because you're doing a challenge. You wake up at 5 a.m. because that's who you are. You don't train hard because you're trying to transform. You train hard because you're a man who trains hard. Period. This is the shift from discipline to identity, from forcing yourself to being yourself. But here's where it gets interesting. After 90 days of this lifestyle, you'll notice something that most self-improvement content never mentions. You'll start attracting different opportunities, different people, different problems. Success doesn't just bring rewards. It brings new challenges that require the next level of you. The business opportunity that terrifies you. The relationship that demands more vulnerability than you've ever shown. The leadership position that exposes every remaining weakness. This is when most men retreat. They hit a new ceiling, and instead of breaking through, they settle just below it. They get comfortable with their new level. They stop pushing. They plateau, then slowly they slide back to where they started. The eternal warrior recognizes these moments as tests, as invitations to level up again. He doesn't retreat to comfort. He advances into discomfort. He takes the opportunity that scares him. He pursues the relationship that challenges him. He accepts the position that will expose his gaps. Why? Because he knows that growth only happens at the edge of capability. The moment something becomes easy, it stops developing you. So he deliberately seeks what's hard, what's uncertain, what's dangerous. Not recklessly, strategically, always calculated, always prepared, but never comfortable. You'll also notice that your old life will occasionally call you back. A friend from before will reach out. An ex will resurface. An old habit will tempt you. A familiar pattern will present itself disguised as something new. These are tests of your transformation. The universe checking if you meant it. If you're really different, or just temporarily motivated. Most men fail these tests. They think one conversation won't hurt. One night out won't matter. One compromise won't change anything. But it does, because discipline is binary. You either have it or you don't. You either hold your standards absolutely, or they mean nothing. There's no partial integrity, no occasional excellence, no selective discipline. You're Alan, or you're pretending. So, you pass these tests by remembering who you were and who you've become. You remember the weakness, the mediocrity, the frustration of being less than you knew you could be. And you remember the cost of transformation, the isolation, the discipline, the sacrifice. You didn't pay that price to go back. You paid it to move forward forever, every day, every year, until death. This is the warrior's path, not a destination, a direction, not a goal, a way of being. And here's the final piece that makes this sustainable. You eventually stop doing this for external results. The money, the status, the respect, the power, those things come, but they stop being why you do it. You do it because you can't not do it anymore. Because the man you've become would rather die than return to who you were. Because excellence has become non-negotiable. Because you've tasted what it feels like to be dangerous, capable, untouchable, and anything less than that feels like death. This is mental thought. This is the Machiavellian way. This is your life now. Comment. Eternal Warrior. If you're committing to this path forever, not just for 30 days. Now, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications, because we're just getting started, and you need to be here for what comes next. Welcome to the fortress. Bonus section, the warning. 300 words. Before you start, I need to warn you about something nobody else will tell you. This transformation will cost you people. Guaranteed your friends will drift away. Your family will question you. Your partner might leave. People you thought were loyal will reveal themselves as obstacles. And you need to be okay with that before you begin. Because if you're not prepared for this loss, you'll quit halfway through to save relationships that were already dead. Here's the brutal truth. Most people in your life right now are invested in your mediocrity. They need you to stay where you are because your transformation threatens their comfort. When you start waking up at 5 a.m., they'll mock you. When you stop drinking with them, they'll call you boring. When you set boundaries, they'll call you selfish. When you pursue power, they'll call you arrogant. This isn't because they hate you. It's because your discipline exposes their lack of it. Your progress highlights their stagnation. Your refusal to settle makes them uncomfortable with their own settling. So unconsciously, they'll try to pull you back down. Subtle comments, passive aggression, guilt trips, temptations designed to break your momentum. The Machiavellian understands this. He expects it. He prepares for it. He knows that ascending requires leaving people behind. Not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. You cannot carry dead weight to the summit. You cannot build a fortress while entertaining everyone who wants your attention. So ask yourself honestly, are you willing to lose everyone if that's what power costs? Are you willing to walk alone for years if that's what excellence requires? Are you willing to be misunderstood, criticized, and isolated if that's the price of transformation? If your answer is anything less than absolute yes, then don't start this journey.